Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 3rd through 7th, 2021. So we're having a big shift of energies over this next week or two as many planets are shifting signs. There's also a very dynamic star pattern that's being created as the planets line up sign by sign, giving us a message that it is indeed time to activate into our bigger potential, our star power, our star self. Now, we've been getting a glimpse of this energy over the last couple of days with the Sun and Uranus close in Taurus. They'll still be close for the next couple of days. This is an activation of the something more that's inside of you that you haven't really known what that is. I have to say, though, when I ask that right now, it's like, what is this something more? What is this bigger self? What is this potential that is eating away at you? Well, the energy of it is the opposite of like a lot of what the lower matrix vibrational energies of hopelessness, depression, never getting anywhere, feeling backed into the corner. And this expression of who you are in your bigger self is the exact opposite energy of that. When you have this potential that supernova souls have, it's like fruit that's laden on the vine, and it can cause, if it's not being used and activated in our life, it causes us to be depressed. It's like we're heavy with the burden of all of our wealth, our spiritual wealth and abundance. And this is everything that's going on right now. So we're still feeling Venus close to Black Moon Lilith. They came together exact yesterday. So for these next couple of days, very powerful energy. Sun, Uranus, who do you think you are in the new age, and why can't you come into your potential? What's keeping you playing small, right? And then Venus with Black Moon Lilith in Taurus. So this is a completion. Mercury just went over Black Moon Lilith, and we've had an incredibly powerful stellium of planets in Taurus for this last week or two with, of course, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Uranus has been there, Black Moon Lilith. It's quite a powerful energy, and all those intense Black Moon Lilith squares we felt earlier in the year, this is a completion of this energy. This is Venus in her home sign of Taurus coming up to Black Moon Lilith here and claiming her new identity that she got when she went over the equinox point with the Sun. That the shadow, the darkness we've associated with the feminine is a distortion. And we have to completely rewrite that story. This is about looking at the program shame and low self-worth in all of us, the feminine in all of us. And everything right now is speaking to the fact that this is the one thing that's keeping us from expanding into the Aquarian age. Now, this is an interesting energy because when we're talking about this, all this astrology since that Mercury retrograde in Aquarius too has been about what's keeping us back, what's keeping us from making this shift, humanity and our individual self, giving ourselves permission. And it comes down to this one thing, this program shame. And this is a completion of this energy saying, oh yeah, that is programmed into humanity, and specifically the feminine. And it has to do with past lives where you were persecuted for your intuitive gifts and skills or healing energies or just your light or who you are. And so this is deep, dark programming, exactly what resonates with Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is the darkest of the dark, of the hidden psyche. And we've been excavating this in Taurus, right? We've been digging all this stuff up, that Scorpio full moon, shining the light on all of this. And, but we're also working the ground, preparing for the tidal wave of abundance that's trying to come into your life. So it's like, we have this huge energy of new wealth, new worth, new systems, new technologies, and really moving humanity forward, because we've been held back for so long, So the only rightful way that this all works out in our evolutionary place we're in is that we receive the technologies, the patents, the truth that has been withheld from us, and so that we can move forward as empowered, autonomous, sovereign beings, and humanity can be free in their God-given right, to access their truth. Now, this is everything this astrology is about, because astrology is saying Sun, Uranus, and you got the star pattern that's coming up next week. It's like there's so much more to your story, and are you going to let yourself have it? So this low self-worth, this worm program in human program, the lowly worm stuck down there in the dirt, it's got to go, right? And what's the picture that's coming from this excavation and process that we've been in for the supernova soul is that how we get into the new age, that big question that's been looming, is exactly this issue. And but there's a synonymous parallel vibrational energy of like you coming into your star power as a supernova soul and no longer playing small and coming into your abundant gifts and skills, and the supernova tribe and these advanced souls popping into their potential, right? That is exactly the energy of the new age, right? And that's a message that's come through with supernova souls. You're here to lead the way in spiritual ascension into the new age, into this new energy. And so this is such a crucial moment in time with Venus, Black Moon Lilith activation, just giving us full permission to drop these stories, because Black Moon Lilith is in sextile, coming into sextile with Neptune. And Neptune is about the dream, the fantasy, the spiritual energies of possibility, but also programming and mind control and delusions that keep us from coming back into our oneness consciousness. So Black Moon Lilith is everything that's been keeping us from our God consciousness, from our Christ consciousness, from our bigger truth of who we really are as spiritual beings in a physical body. And so there's like sextiles have this magic key, unlocking this key, kind of like magic solutions. And so it's almost like the healing of that Black Moon Lilith distortions is cracking open a doorway, a portal into something else. We can just step through into a whole new reality once we're willing to drop that bullshit shame that's been keeping us from, playing small. Now, that's a really interesting picture of this portal that's being created, because next week what's happening is that we have already this lining up that's happening on and off, been happening with these planets in line, a set of signs all in a row at the same degree. And we're having another bloom of this next week. And when we have this, what I call star pattern, which is basically if you had one in all the signs, it'd be a flower of life. So we're speaking to the energy of creation. And in the birth chart, it seems to speak to the soul desiring to come in and come into the full potential, full flowering, which we don't even know what that means. We can't even comprehend what it means to be a full potential human, but that's what you came to demonstrate to humanity. I know, where's the roadmap, right? But this is so dynamic because we're coming up on some big changes. Now, so Mercury and Venus are separating out, but they just took their turns. Venus is with Black Moon Lilith, Mercury was then coming into square. So Mercury's coming into square with Jupiter in Aquarius. And this is exactly everything we've been talking about. Okay, pressure to expand into the new, into that potential, into this elevated experience of the human living, truly living on Earth. And Mercury and Venus in Taurus both coming up to this place, being like pressure to expand into it, but then what's keeping us from being able to do that? And it comes right back to the issues of Taurus, which is self-worth and value, and this overhaul that we need with Uranus and Taurus, this complete revolution of our relationship to the physical, to form, and to money, to value, and an overhaul of our value system. And the value system, the new value system is you, supernova souls, advanced souls. You got the gold, you got the wealth. And so this astrology is pressure, pressure, pressure to push us into this and out of the nest, kind of, right? Now, so it's speaking to landing home this bigger spiritual self that's been waiting in the wings, right? You sense that there's something missing and there's something bigger that you're here to do, but not necessarily knowing who this person is. It's like you got to meet this person and it's trying to land into your life. That's what this astrology is saying. But the star pattern is also speaking to the light body, transfiguration, levitation, floating up above and beyond in that portal into a whole new reality, into a whole new dimensional frequency. So it's like we're being asked to leap and fly and incarnate this bigger self. And that's everything this astrology is talking about, because Sun Uranus is saying, hey, wake up to who you are. You're so much more. And you know this, right? And then Venus, Mercury, Black Moon, Lilith. But if I wake up, I shine the light. I'm going to shine it on those dark, scary places that everybody's just so suppressed and doesn't want to look at, and the collective groupthink consciousness is like, oh, don't go there, But we've gone there now. You've had to go there. You had to go to that darkest dark in that wilderness place. And now it's time to come back into the light. So, and then the squares with Jupiter. Jupiter brings luck, money, expansion, possibilities. And we're talking about the new energy of the new age in Aquarius. Now, Jupiter, though, on the 13th of May is going to move into the sign of Pisces. Very powerful for Jupiter to do a retrograde into the few degrees of Pisces and then back into Aquarius, as we look at this cusp of Pisces Aquarius, the shift from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, and Jupiter wants to expand us into it. So Mercury, Venus, square Jupiter is the pressure we need to break out of the chrysalis, the stagnant state we've been stuck in for this last year and a half, or lifetimes and thousands of years, right? So the dynamic part of these energies is that, Mercury is in the square with Jupiter, and then is moving over tomorrow into Gemini, his home sign of Gemini. And so Gemini is an air sign, and we've still got that Aquarian energy, Jupiter finishing up in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius. And so this air energy, it's about lift, it's about perspective, and Mercury is so trying to get a grip on reality after that retrograde in Aquarius. But this is in trine to that retrograde, but preparing for another retrograde in Gemini. So air signs, Mercury retrogrades this year in air signs, moving us into this new Renaissance energy. So coming up next week, Mercury moving into its home sign of Gemini, so relieved to be there. Venus finishing up in her home sign of Taurus, squaring up with Jupiter, and the pressure is on. Mercury coming up to the north node of the moon. And this is part of this star pattern energy. But Mercury north node, Mercury at home in Gemini, north node. And the north node is, come on, we got to go this way. This is the North Star. This is the way forward. This is how we're going to get where we're trying to go. And it's all about the empowered voice. It's about that shift of perspective. Gemini is a mutable sign. So it's about being willing to change your perspective, which is, I think the deepest root cause of this blockage that we're at for humanity is that program shame. But another layer of that, how that manifests, is this inability to, it's almost like we don't want to look at that shame. So we're going to stay in the surface level, more narcissistic, materialistic existence, and then it's like impossible to self-reflect and change your thinking. To be able to say, oh, I think I was wrong about this, or I want to learn more, or I want to expand, or, and this is definitely what's keeping humanity. It's like the mind control grid and all that, right? So this is bringing a shift of perspective. Mercury in Gemini, and then coming up with a north node. That's right when Venus is in square to Jupiter next week. And Mercury will be with the north node, and then this lining up of the planets all in a row. And so it's speaking to moving forward. How do we move forward? It's this empowerment. The empowered leaders is Gemini speaking to. The orators, the ones that can help us understand what we're doing here, our movement, and move us forward. And this huge activation of this forward motion. And so very powerful dynamic shifting. And on the just this weekend, on Thursday, Mars comes to 10 degrees Cancer. So it will be, and then 11 degrees and the couple of days after that. And so there's a, then that's Thursday. And then on Friday, the Uranus and Chiron. Okay, so Chiron is in Aries and Uranus in Taurus, and they move at a similar rate a lot of times. Chiron has a more erratic orbit, but they're moving on the same day on Friday from 10 degrees to 11 degrees. Now, the North Node on Thursday. Okay, whoops. Mars is coming to 10 degrees on the 10th next week. So sorry, I looked at the wrong notes here. But so Thursday, the North Node moves backwards, right? And it's coming to Mercury. They're meeting of the minds, a meeting of the council, a meeting of like, how are we going to get to the next place? You know, who has the map? And but the North Node, it moves backwards through the signs. And so the North Node's going from 11 degrees to 10 degrees. Now, this is the last decan of the North Node in Gemini. So we're coming to a completion energy of the North Node Gemini, South Node Sagittarius. And very powerful, this all lining up, and 10 degrees and 11 degrees, and then 11 degrees and 10 degrees. So 10 is a 1 numerologically, and 11 is a 2. Now, 11 has a very powerful energy to it around a portal, like an archway building, you know, that way through. It's also facing your opposite, facing your shadow. It's an energy of overcoming division, which is exactly the Gemini energy. And so what is going on here, right? But 111 is about the true self. It's about that Aries energy, the incarnation of that, of this I am, with a star pattern in the sky, right? Because we've got that Chiron in Aries now, 10 to 11 degrees. We've got Uranus, the next sign over in Taurus, 10 to 11 degrees. We've got the North Node, 11 to 10 degrees in Gemini. And then Mars joins this lineup of planets on the 10th. So, so it's a very dynamic shifting time because Mercury moving over, and then also on the 13th, Jupiter moving over to Pisces, huge shift of energies. And Pisces is also a mutable sign. And so we're really trying to rearrange our perspective and let your perspective shift. Let this dynamic time work in your life. There's still a lot of grief and emotions coming up with Mars and Cancer. This is part of moving old stuck energy, you know, cleaning out that whatever that excavation process has brought forward for you. Grief you've been carrying, this is really powerful, coming up for supernova souls. Grief you've been carrying for your family and ancestry that you had no idea. You know, grief that you maybe are processing emotional energies for the people around you that you had no idea. This is part of the message for supernova souls right now, is that as you expand in your consciousness and you do your work here and you're present in this experience, you're going to get more and more sensitive, you know? So you got to be aware that spiritual awakening, what you've always wanted and what you came here for, is going to make you more and more sensitive. So you got to be really careful and take care of yourself right now, because we're stuck in the collective soup of this overlapping timelines, a big knot of, you know, who's going to go where and where are we going and what's happening, right? It's like a convergence of timelines, and it looks like a big knot. And we're going to have to dismantle the knot in order for those souls that are ready to go, and you're getting pushed out of that nest because you're here to lead the way. So just be really present with this, because next week we've got that star pattern, the 10 to 11 energies going on, lining up in that flower of life pattern. Mars is coming into square with Chiron. So this is super dynamic energy. This is the square pressure energy. And what I was saying before about Jupiter is that Jupiter brings possibilities. So even squares with Jupiter can be positive and expansive and beautiful. And that's the energy of this Mercury Venus. Like, okay, wow, I think I'm finally ready to step out of that old body bag of those bullshit stories of my lower self. How can I have low self-worth when I am the God self? That doesn't make sense. You know, low self-worth is the false self, the false programmed reality of who the roles you've been playing over lifetimes and who you thought you were. And you're so much more than that. You don't have to give anything up. Just the bullshit stories and the pain and the drama and the trauma. And it's almost like I'm seeing this old suit of this physicality, this heavy, dross human experience of you as an advanced soul taking on the collective energies and just like unzipping that suit and just taking it off. You know, the chrysalis. And you didn't know you had wings, but it's time to fly. So, wow, because a lot of heavy energy, heavy emotional energies moving, but also like a lightness of energies and pulling us forward around and maybe bringing up that fear programming, anxiety of the bigness of you and the reality of the bigger next steps that are coming in your life. So a combination all over the place. It's a time right now of faith. And this is an energy that this word can be very misunderstood. This is kind of the message it comes across, but there's something very important in not faith in a power outside of you, but faith in who you are as a soul and the stories that brought you here that are no longer your, stories. But why did you go through all you went through, and why are you still here and you made it? And it's this faith in that you didn't just come here for this. So faith in your experiences and all the other light workers on the edge of the nest as well. And the power of that, and that God wins. It's all we can know where something's got to give here, and this is the knot breaking down, and in the negative energies that are clamping down like a tentacle energy on this knot of timeline convergence. It's like it's squeezing it, but you can tell that there's no way to contain this expansion. And that expansion, like we talked about, is exactly relevant and metaphorically or, vibrationally resonant with your expansion into your true self. And it's like, this cannot be held back, right? And the pressure is building. And the reason why we're all together in this soup right now, which has been incredibly painful for those getting more and more sensitive into collective energies. But when we do burst out of this stagnancy, it's like we're trying to take the most amount of souls we can with us to those positive timelines and that divine timeline. So it's a very, very strange time, and I think we'll have this beautiful exalted moments and then that squeezing moments. It's super dynamic, but know that when it is dynamic like this, you might feel those heavy feelings, that grief trying to move, but it won't last. Don't get attached to any one state, because everything is in flux right now. We're moving into this mutable energy, which is all about being flexible and adjusting your course. And in this case, your course is who you really are, your true self, the Sun Uranus activation. And so just incredibly powerful next week, because Jupiter moves into Pisces. So Mars square Chiron is huge too. This is on the 12th, is that it's exact. And this is the crux of the issue, our access to our life force, Mars, the ruler of Aries, right? Speaking to this I am. And Chiron in Aries. And Mars is the warrior, is the nurturing. So it's nurturing us out of the issues, trying to nurture us into our I am. But it's square, so it's tension, right? And so, but can we allow ourselves to the new paradigm and the new energies we're moving into, it's like you're held and supported in the work you're here to do. Can you even fathom that? Can you vibrationally even experiment with that energy of being fully supported energetically and on all levels in what you came here to do? It's so different than how you've been living. It's like, it's like thwarted at every turn. It feels like this last intense time of this crazy, silent, hidden, energetic, war and the war is ultimately, now we're seeing so clearly, the war is for our life force, our connection to God's self within our natural. This is our everything that makes all life, and this is like, for us in this realm, Christ consciousness is this direct access to God consciousness energy. That's what the Christ represents, like showing us we have it right here. We're made from it. It's the truth of who we are. And we had no idea how powerful it was. And we had no idea that we sold it down the river to be used to create the lower matrix. But now one by one, we're claiming back our power. Now, when you're doing that, you're going to get pushback, right? In your life. And maybe that's part of what's going on for people right now. But Mars square Chiron is the wounds of where you gave away your life force. And Mars is like, we're not doing it this way anymore. We're going to come back to the active compassion that can get us out of the gutter. I mean, it's like, oh, just so dynamic, because at the same time, this Mars square Chiron is when the Mercury is going to come up with North Node in his home sign of Gemini, which is like, we need a new perspective to move forward, empowerment of the mind, of the organic, critical thinking, right brain, left brain, consciousness, pineal gland activation of our higher intuitive powers, and the heart consciousness, our conscious cells in our heart, in our whole body. We've got conscious cells throughout our body that are ready to awaken into, not just a brain, a control, but an enlivened, awakened, full-bodied experience of being a human soul in a body. Because there's way more to this story. You came here to thrive. And all this astrology is saying, okay, here, go, do it. What's stopping you? No, like these forces cannot hold back the magic of who you are, and use everything to, I'm just seeing like this alchemy of like this compression, and, maybe like that pressure, taking that coal and turning it into a diamond, and use everything to gain that permission and access and full experience and expression of your Christ consciousness, which is God consciousness, the source of all, the electric universe, the free energy, right here. Turn on, right? Unplug and turn on. So yeah, because Venus in just off that Black Moon Lilith activation square to Jupiter. So it's one of these, like, are we going to use this energy, humanity, to push on through to the other side? 10 to 11 degrees, that's got 3 ones. And that's an energy of creation. And it's like, but it's also the strength of that I am, of that individuated God self, and coming together to co-create. So keep tabs with your soul group energetically, seeing them bloom and blossom into their full potential. Enjoy that imagery. See for them what you can't see for yourself, of that being held and loved and carried into this new energy and supported in our potential. Know that we're getting more and more sensitive. Take care of yourself, tend to yourself. The energy right now of this vibrational attack that's coming through this jab energy, even people who are choosing not to take the jab are being affected energetically. So it's a really important time, as always, but a very important time to go be with yourself in nature and cleanse your vibration. because that is what resets us back to the true life force energy. And there's a new program out there that's trying to bring us down another way to interfere with our pineal gland activation. And, all these long-term agendas are all about disconnecting us from our higher intuitive power. And that's the only reason you're here. So do you see? It's your time now. It's your stage. But it's a dynamic shifting time, so just take advantage of it. Be present with it. Zip yourself out of that zoot suit and get ready to fly. And we'll see what happens as we move through this next couple of weeks of dynamic shifting time. So I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.